Adrian Wojnarowski with us now, and Woj, at the risk of being the old guy, look, I'm sorry, but I'm with Boylen. You get beat by 56 points at home. You're professionals. You clearly have things you need to work on. How does this Bulls situation resolve itself?
Well, right now it's easy for Jim Boylen because he's got ownership, management on his side. And this is a young team. There are no stars on this team. This is the change they wanted from Fred Hoiberg to him. And you've always seen this Bulls management group, they really have overcompensated whenever they've made coaching changes, from Vinny Del Negro to Tom Thibodeau to Hoiberg, Hoiberg to Jim Boylen. Extremes.
Not subtle. Reaction from around the league, because you know and talk to everybody. What do other players, other GMs say when a young team like the Bulls reacts in a way where they're basically saying, nah, we really don't want to work? I've
heard more executives talk about Jim Boylen needing to be cautious. And listen, he's been up, he's a really good coach. And, you know, he was with Greg Popovich in San Antonio and then came as the associate head coach in Chicago. But other executives have said, this can't go on like this, but for them, it doesn't fit for their team or their organization. Mm-hmm. But Jim Boylen doesn't work for them. He works for the Bulls. This is what they want from him.
And I get it. I mean, I can agree with him. But at the same time, you catch more flies with sugar or honey than you do with vinegar. But when you hear, like, Levine supposedly says you're not Popovich, well, you're not the Spurs, man. Like, we didn't get beat by 56 when I was with the Spurs. So at some point, do you need 2-hour practices and film study? Maybe not. But we're going to practice today because there's stuff you guys can get better at. I'm sorry that I can't even fathom that you're just going to be like, no, we're not practicing.
Jim Boylen's plan was to come in initially, and as he called it, a shock and awe campaign. He wanted to shake this group up. He wanted to make them uncomfortable. I don't think this will continue for the long term. You can't sustain this in the NBA. And here's the other thing Boylen does have. He has relationships in that locker room with this team. He didn't come from the outside. Right. He's been their coach for a couple years as an assistant. He does have relationships in that locker room.
Much like you go from Thibs to Hoiberg. All right, we don't have to practice for 2.5 hours, but we're also not practicing. Let's practice, let's work, let's get better. All right, is that a plan?
That's how they're going to do it.
All right, ready, break. Thanks, Woj.
Thanks, Scott.